Hello, guys. Hope you all are doing well. My name is Ben Cruz. For those that do not know me, um, I decided that I wanted to go on here to do a live video for the Boston Red Sox and essentially how I feel about the the team going forward. Obviously, before we get started, I just want to wish everyone a healthy and safe holiday. It's a very busy time this year, so of course, you all just hopefully you enjoy your time, no matter where you guys are going to. I will be traveling on Christmas, so I'm very excited for that, and looking forward to having what's to come, and hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your year as we're approaching the end of 2024 and looking forward to 2025. And what is potentially in store for the Red Sox come 2025? Speaking of them, we'll get into everything come Red Sox right now. I just want to say, for those that don't know me, I also am a part of the Empty the Bench Network, which you guys can find my stuff on Facebook. We have this stuff posted on YouTube on Empty the Bench Network page, and there's a bunch of other spots that you guys can find my stuff. I'm also part of the I Am Six podcast network, and you could also find me guys on the uh, Facebook and Twitter and all those great overall platforms over there as well. And I talk pretty much every different sport over on that network. On the uh, Empty the Bench network, I have a football betting show that I'm part of with a bunch of people every single week. Make sure to join into that stuff. We put our stuff out there. And I'm also on that overall network. We are also associated by Playback. Playback is basically another version of Twitch, and we are partnered with uh, NBA League Pass. So NBA League Pass basically is a streaming network where you can watch all out of market NBA games, and we got the chance to basically watch them without commercial based. And yeah, you guys want to join the overall stream as well, by all means, you guys are welcome to. And you get to watch games with us, which is a lot of fun. We're actually going to have a NBA whip around tonight. And whip around is basically we can basically go through all the games that we want to, no matter what um, time they are, and basically we just go and have a lot of fun. And you guys are welcome to join the overall stream. Tonight we'll be starting probably around 6:45, 7 o'clock, whenever the first game goes live for the NBA season. For the NBA season for tonight. I'm sorry to clarify, everybody. um, and then yeah, I also do NFL football. Of course, the season's still in full swing. The regular season's almost over. But I also have an NFL betting line show over with Empty the Bench Network. So you guys can find me also on there as well. So you guys can find me on a lot of other spots. Also feel free to follow me at Ben Cruz 144 on X. I put a lot of stuff sports related onto there. And if you guys ever want to reach out to me on anything um, sports content related, make sure to feel free to send me a message, and I'd be glad enough to answer that to you guys as well. All right, so let's get into another fun stuff. If any of you guys aren't Red Sox fans, by all means, no worries. This is pretty much a Red Sox related stream for right now. But if you guys also want to see more stuff in the MLB world, I'm going to be hopefully going live tonight as well after the playback stream on my own podcast on the MI6 network stream. And I have a show on my own called Kicking with Cruz, and I basically go through every single league. And going to do a lot of stuff tonight because I don't have a lot of time on my hands the rest of the week with myself going on vacation. So a lot of stuff that I'm going to get into throughout today, and make sure you guys are, on it if you guys want to watch some of my content throughout the day. All right, got basically all of that out of the way. So the Red Sox, essentially, this offseason so far have been fun. They pretty much have made a couple decent moves. I think one obviously that's basically been the headline out of all of them. And the biggest thing about this team right now is they are far from done. The last couple of years with this Red Sox team, they really, in the first half, when you look at the overall records, they were able to basically sustain from the early part of the regular season to right around the MLB trade deadline. So they're pretty much within a range of where they could make a move here and there at the trade deadline. But if they didn't, then they weren't going to be able to sustain what they had in the first half to what they had in the second half. So, and that's pretty much what they did because the ownership for the last couple of years has not been aggressive enough where if they need a little bit more added to it, basically what they call a little bit of seasoning added onto it, they weren't going to sustain, like I just mentioned, the overall success of what they had in the first half. Basically, it was a lot of overachieving. Um, Now, the biggest good thing about the Red Sox coming up now is they have one of the best farm systems in the league, headlined by guys like Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, Marcelo Meyer. Uh, of course, they traded some of their guys, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But all in all, they still have one of the best farm systems in the league, headlined by Roman Anthony, who, according to multiple baseball avenues, is regarded as the best prospect in all of baseball. And that's essentially on my baseball team. So I couldn't be any more proud of that. The biggest thing about the Red Sox when it comes to the prospecting is they need to figure out their pitching. It's really headlined about a lot of their position guys and their offense. I think it's going to be great, but the pitching is going to come from other avenues. And this offseason, the Red Sox were able to find that. So I'm going to get into basically all of that. And funny enough, most of the moves so far for the Red Sox have been the pitching, which has been good because that's been basically their need that they needed for a long period of time. And so far, they've done a pretty good job at it. So I'm going to go through all those moves right now with you guys. Um, and I'm going to just say, as a grade as of right now, I would probably give right now Craig Breslow and Sam Kennedy and John Henry all probably around a B minus, B, like a solid B. They made some impactful moves. I definitely think they need some more, but from what they've given so far compared to the last couple of years, I think there's a ton of upside when it comes to this overall rotation. And then, of course, the bullpen, I still think that they can definitely add some more to that coming up. So the first move that the Red Sox made was Aroldis Chapman. Now, Chapman, of course, was a guy that remember from the Yankees days, of course, he gave up to the homer to Rafael Devers. Rafael kind of has his coming out party moment for the Red Sox on a 100-mile plus fastball, hit an apple taco when Rafa was a young kid. And of course, Chapman, he was really well known to start with the Reds. That's pretty much where he got drafted from. They were basically calling him the Red Flamethrower and the Cuban Missile. That was kind of his nickname. And right now, I mean, Chapman isn't the same guy that he once was. His fastball is great. It still tops at 100 plus, but his command can be all over the place. It's very wacky. Um, I will say for the Red Sox is I don't think that this move though told me that they were pretty much all done in the overall back end rotation. I mean, and the bullpen, but I do think that it definitely helps them just with more bullpen depth. I do think that Craig Breslow and a lot of these pitchers' moves so far, which I'll talk about, he was emphasizing the swing and miss stuff had to happen because the Red Sox, for the pitching side of things, had a really tough time of putting guys away the last couple of years when it came down to their pitching. So Chapman was a guy that I think that they saw as a guy that he can give swing and miss stuff, and if he's on, he's on. And I think he could be a seventh inning, eighth inning viable option. The Red Sox currently right now, Kenley Jansen and Chris Marr currently as free agents. So the Red Sox need to bring some guys in to basically replace some of those guys that are going to be more likely than not leaving. And so Chapman was a guy that I think that they liked. He's a guy from the left-hand side. The Red Sox haven't had a lot of southpaws in the back of the on our bullpen for a while. So this could be a low risk, high reward. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. And I think for the overall value that they gave him in this move, I think it could be a it could be a steal for the Red Sox. I really do. It could also go really bad. I know a ton of people really didn't like Chapman off the field, and deservedly so. But the deal was for 1 year, 10 mil. So it wasn't like it was a crazy overpay. And, the pitcher himself, I think, is good. I think that's what a lot of fans were not worried about. I think it was just the overall bringing that potential baggage that he had off the field into this overall clubhouse that they were focused more on. So hopefully that the Red Sox are able to get a guy here that can give them some back end help calm the bullpen in 2025. The Red Sox right now on that back end currently, Liam Hendricks, who's going to be coming back. Michael Fulmer could be a potential back end guy who they signed last year, but he was out of all last year because he had a season-ending injury. And Justin Slayton. Of course, Justin Slayton is another guy too. And Garrett Whitlock. Garrett Whitlock, of course, was a very good bullpen pitcher for the Red Sox, but they tried to bring him as a starter, and it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. They tried a couple different avenues. They basically made him as like a 3 inning, 4 inning pitcher, even to kind of try to save him like innings. Just wasn't working out. He's just better as a bullpen guy, and you just don't want him to basically be a guy now that you know is not who he is. He's basically a bullpen guy, and that's where he should be. And so hopefully that he goes back to what he was. But the Red Sox, I still think they need a closer, a viable closer. I think Hendricks has that ability. I think Chapman has that ability. But if you get a guy like a Jeff Hoffman, or if you get like a guy like the Kirby Yates or Tanner Scott, who I think is the most coveted free agent reliever arm out there still. This Red Sox bullpen can go from a good strength to an elite strength. So we'll see. But obviously, Aroldis Chapman was signing number one. Signing number two for the Red Sox, they made a couple, very low moves out there. Cam Boozer recently got traded over to the White Sox. The Red Sox got a minor league pitcher back. But the biggest move after Chapman was the Red Sox have been clamoring a long period of time for an ace. And, obviously they were looking at Corbin Burns, who's still out there, by the way. It's close enough to Christmas, which is crazy. Max Fried was out there for at least a decent chunk of time before he got picked up from the New York Yankees after the Yankees moved out on Juan Soto. I'll give the Yankees a lot of credit, by the way. Their plan B pivoted was fairly solid. I don't think all of them are great moves, but I think that they just brought some good pieces in for some names that have been well known around the league. And Max Fried, of course, headlined by that. But that was a massive miss by the Red Sox. So since the Red Sox missed out on Max Fried, the day right after, Craig Breslow went onto the phone and gave a call to Chris Getz, the White Sox, and basically asked what it would take for Garrett Crochet. And for me, I didn't think that was going to happen because I think the White Sox were an organization that was going to try to get the top two guys, and Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell, or Marcelo Mayer. And that's what it originally looked like at first, in which they asked for Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, Marcel Meyer early on. And Craig Breslow basically said that those guys aren't getting moved. So Craig Breslow basically worked things out in which he went into the phones and still got the guy that they wanted. The Red Sox got an ace that I think could be a long-term ace. Hopefully he gets an extension. But they did get Garrett Crochet this offseason. Gives me very Chris Sale-like vibes from 5-6 years ago. A guy that can throw absolute gas, has ace-like stuff, and his K per nines, according to Fangraphs, were some of the best in the league when it comes to his strikeout ability and the swing and miss stuff. So the trend of Craig Breslow basically wanting guys, pitcher-wise, that can bring swing and miss stuff. The first two moves that they brought two guys that had swing and miss powerful stuff when it came to velo, right? Crochet can top that at 97 plus. And obviously Chapman can top out a lot as well too. The biggest thing about Chapman though is going to come down to his command because he's very up and down. That's pretty much what he is now. He's basically a massive roller coaster. Crochet is going to come down to his overall health. He's had some injuries in the past, but I think that that upside basically takes away a lot of that. And the Red Sox now have a guy that is extremely young, has great stuff. Um, and I think that, with the top of the rotation now of him and Tanner Houck, I think that that basically just elevates basically everybody down the rotation. And with the move that they obviously made today for another piece in the rotation, which I'll talk about a little bit, it makes it even more of a force, I think, for the Red Sox because now they're going to, instead of having guys like in the past of where you're banking on guys like Garrett Whitlock on the starting rotation and, just, well, we've had to be a sentence of guys of banking on, right? That were, let's be real, not great pieces or very average to mad pieces. Now you kind of have a serviceable rotation in which the American League now is really wide open. Basically, after Juan Soto left the Yankees, it's really open to anybody. And now there's going to be some more guys that could really change the trajectory of the American League, which I'll talk about a little bit as well. But the Red Sox getting Garrett Crochet at the top, him and Tanner Houck at the 1-2. Hopefully, Crochet gets an extension. Um, because I know last year his name was out there on the market and the trade deadline, but nobody really wanted him because he basically was asking for any team that got him in the second half of last year to give him an extension. And nobody really wanted that because it was really a massive unknown for a guy that was pitching on one of the worst teams in baseball, but just his overall given injury history. But I think that the Red Sox, John Henry has basically been clamoring that he doesn't want to spend high on top end starters. So the only way that you can make an ace happen is you're going to have to go and deplete some of your farm system. But the biggest thing about that was they really were able to, make this trade without getting rid of three of their top guys in our farm system: Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Christian Campbell. All those guys that they were asking about, basically, Red Sox were saying they were untouchable, and thank God they were, right? Because they have so much potential ahead of them. Now, the Red Sox did get rid of four guys. Kyle Teal, of course, was one of the main guys, and he, of course, was in their core four of Red Sox guys that I think a lot of people are excited about. But the White Sox are going to have a good one there. So Kyle Teal, Brady Montgomery, who the Red Sox drafted early this year, Chase Mydroth, who was an infield guy who I think could really be good for them, and then Wilkerman Gonzalez, who was a prospect pitcher who has some fairly good, decent stuff. The Red Sox essentially, I think it's a win-win trade, to be honest, too, because the Red Sox basically got an ace that they have for the long term, and the White Sox basically have a ton of great prospects from a really good prospecting pool team like the Red Sox, in which the White Sox are basically a rebuilding team. They're trying to just get some young pieces for the future, and they got some here, in which the Red Sox gave over to them. So it's just a really good overall thing for both sides of things. Now, so you get Aroldis Chapman, you get Garrett Crochet. What's step number 3? So the Red Sox traded Cam Boozer over to the White Sox. You can already kind of tell the Red Sox and White Sox love doing business with each other, even since the Chris Sale days. This was really just to, kind of shedding one guy over another. Boozer, of course, was kind of more of a guy they brought in last year. He had some solid stuff, but I'm not really overly upset about it. It's tough. I liked Cam Boozer a lot, but it wasn't the end all be all type of thing either. Red Sox brought a minor leaguer in, and so best of luck to Cam Boozer. Now, the Red Sox made a couple moves within the last several days, including one that happened today. And a couple days before today, they moved a move that I think a lot of Red Sox fans were kind of on the fence with. When they saw this move, they're like, oh, here we go again, the bargain bin shop and this and that. But I think this is a move that is pretty much more of a depth piece in terms of the Red Sox really needed lacking depth last year, right? So if there were guys that went down, right, during the rotation, the Red Sox really didn't have a lot of guys that could come in and basically take starts. They pretty much had to bring guys in like Josh Winkowski or Garrett Whitlock, basically guys that were a lot of bullpen guys that had to be basically doing bullpen games for the Red Sox. You just can't have that for a team that's a big market type team, right? That really you're trying to get back to the playoffs after 3, 4 years of not getting there. So they brought this guy in, and this was for a 2 year deal, I'm pretty sure. And this is by the name of Patrick Sandoval. Now, Sandoval was a southpaw coming from the Angels. His numbers last year weren't obviously great, but he missed a lot last year because of injury. He was 2-8, 5.08 ERA, 81 strikeouts, a 1.51 WHIP. Now, the biggest thing about Sandoval, and I looked at some of his overall his highlights, is he has some pretty good stuff. Like his peripherals, when it comes to the out pitch on his changeup, he is top five in the league when it comes to put out pitch by the changeup. Um, so there's definitely stuff there. He could top at 96 when it comes to the fastball. And it all comes down to with Sandoval is his overall command, right? He doesn't have a lot of put away stuff, right? If he is not, controlling that changeup, the changeup is a massive swing and miss pitch. Um, but I did some of it. I did see some of his stats last year too, and they weren't bad. Uh, to be also fair too, is he was pitching for one of the worst teams in the league in the Angels. So that also kind of takes away some of the so between some unluckiness and between pitching for a bad team, right? I mean, I'm looking at some of the Sandoval splits throughout the year, at least to what he got through. So he basically was, you know, he had one outing in April, wasn't great. And then in May, he went 5 innings plus. Every single one he had was 3 runs less, besides one that he has stinker in Cincy with 7 runs. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of ground balls. He's basically, commanding that. He has a changeup for a reason. So he's basically throwing that to a lot of guys to the outside for righties, right? Right, basically making it as a chase pitch and basically throwing that slider and a put away pitch to lefties on the opposite side. So, you know, and when I look at it too with the rotation, between Crochet and Howe and Bayo. Of course, the another guy I'm going to talk about after, right? And then you have Cutter Crawford. Sandoval is not even going to be ready to pitch by the first half of this year. And even if he was healthy, he wasn't going to be in the starting rotation. All right. So the Red Sox basically got a guy here that's pretty much more of a depth piece. And I think that they basically saw the swing and miss stuff like they've seen with the last couple of guys. And he can maybe come in and a guy gets down or somebody needs a spot start. Sandoval's a good piece to have in the second half of the season because the Red Sox really were just lacking guys like that, and they don't have to be household type of arms either, right? The Mets got a guy that I think could definitely help him out, even though he's not a household name and he's not great. But a guy like Griffin Canning, Patrick Sandoval is kind of like the Griffin Canning for the Red Sox this year, in which he basically can come in and be like a back end arm, say if a guy goes down, but he's not obviously going to be a long term guy in the rotation. So I think the Red Sox maybe find a dime in the rough here. And with Andrew Bale, of course, at the helm at the pitching lab, we could really see if maybe something comes to fruition here. So that was the Red Sox move number 3. Now today the Red Sox made another move, and this was one of my favorite moves that they made so far this season. The Red Sox got Walker Buehler. Buehler, of course, was out there on the Red Sox radar for a while. If they didn't go out and get a guy like a Corbin Burns or a Luis Castillo or Jared Jones, some guys are out there on the trade market that they were linked to. But the Red Sox were looking kind of the second tier of guys in the free agent class and the pitching class. Of course, there's guys out there like Sean Manaea, but Sean Manaea actually just got re-signed by the New York Mets, which is a really good move for the Mets to a 3-year deal, I believe. But kind of in that category, Buehler was, Manaea, Jack Flaherty, that Michael Lorenzen type of tier. I guess we can call it because he's kind of in that. So, but you get Walker Buehler for 21 mil, 1 year, 21 million. And Buehler was a guy that was a household name for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course, the Dodgers rotation has been so low the last couple of years that Buehler is, he was kind of an afterthought, but a lot of people liked him and his stuff still played. The biggest thing about Buehler, right, is I think his stuff in the regular season isn't great, but his stuff in the playoffs is fantastic. Of course, he got the last 3 outs for the Dodgers to win the World Series pennant at their place, at the Yankees' place. So maybe it was kind of just been born that he became a Boston Red Sox at the end of the day. So I'm very happy about that. Um, but the stuff plays, and the Red Sox. I asked for this the last couple of years, and I was thinking about this before I came on here. They needed to get an ace, and they needed to get a second arm, right? That could come in and give them innings. And they're getting a guy that can give them innings that has postseason experience. So that basically helps a lot of the guys that don't have a ton of experience. When you bring a guy in like Bueller, right? I think that helps them a lot. So now you look at the rotation now. You have Garrett Crochet, you have Tanner Houck, you have Walker Bueller, you have Brian Bayo, you have Cutter Crawford. Nick Pivetta, of course, is going to be more likely not being the odd man out. He's obviously a free agent now. This is basically I look at it more like a Michael Wacha, actually. Kind of the Red Sox getting Michael Wacha a couple years ago. A lot of people are thinking he was washed after kind of the last couple years over with the Cardinals, right? The Red Sox bring him in for a year. Try to get the value there. I know there was a ton of upside potential, but he had a ton of injuries as well. Wacha came in, basically was the ace of the staff that was needed, and basically a rotation that didn't have one. And Wacha basically came in and was phenomenal. And then from there, the Red Sox didn't resign him, which I think a lot of people were upset about. But what some other teams saw was an ace type of pitcher, and that was the Kansas City Royals. And now Wacha has a 3-year deal with them and is now one of the best guys at the top of the rotation. So you don't need to always get the big time arm, right? It would have been nice to get a guy like a Corbin Burns. It would have been nice to get a guy like a Luis Castillo. It would have been great to have a guy like a Jared Jones. But the Red Sox need to also have some other holes that they have to fill that I think Walker Buehler is a great arm to have, like a 3 or a 4 guy type arm. Um, the problem was the Red Sox was it wasn't the pitching that got them for the full entire season. It was the fact of getting them through the second half of the season. They had the arms where they can basically get through at least a half, but they needed to complete it. They were so tired out. Guys like Tanner Houck, guys like Cutter Crawford, they were just taxing themselves over innings, guys. And now the Red Sox have 2 arms that should help go from strength of kind of average to pretty solid. And heck, who knows? Maybe the Red Sox are still looking at their rotation and upgrade even more. Heck, if you want to be really greedy, if Corbin Burns' market goes down to becoming a short-term deal, I think it's very highly unlikely that the Red Sox get Burns after getting Bueller today. But if you really want to get sexy here, you sign Burns to a short-term type of deal. Then you have 2 massive aces at the top end with Garrett Crochet and Corbin Burns. And then you have Bayo, Bueller, Giolito. I didn't even mention Giolito. Giolito didn't even pitch last year, and I think a lot of people are expecting a lot of things from Giolito this year. Giolito doesn't have to be that guy this year. A lot of people were thinking that he had to be the guy last year. Giolito doesn't have to be that guy this year. So the Red Sox have a ton of potential in their rotation this year. And I think this is the most optimistic that I see with this Red Sox rotation in quite a bit of time. Because they have some guys that you have an ace there that has a lot of ace type upside. You have a couple of guys there like Tanner Houck, Brian Bayo, some homegrown talent names that we know essentially what they can bring. You have a guy like Walker Bueller who can bring some postseason experience. They needed some extra pitching to get to where they have to be. Bueller, of course, too, when it comes to his pitching, right? Another guy spending that stuff. Fastball. Really good fastball. So between Crochet, between Chapman, between Sandoval, and between Bueller. Now, all those names are sexy, but all those names bring, in terms when it comes to stuff, some swing and miss ability. And I think that's what Craig Bristol has been phenomenal about so far. All right, so now with that being said, Red Sox aren't done, folks. They're not done. They still really have to figure out their 2 massive other needs. they need to get a righty power bat more than anything. Tyler O'Neill, who they did bring last year in, I love T.O., but he got signed fairly early in December. He went over to the Baltimore Orioles. It was on I'm trying to look at the contract that they gave him. Oh, yeah, it was a 3-year, 49.5 mil. So good move for the Orioles. The Orioles really didn't make a ton of moves so far, and the moves that they've had made have been fairly so-so. They did bring in Sagano, the Japanese arm, that I think can bring definitely some rotation. Of course, a lot of course hinders as well too if they bring back Corbin Burns. But I don't see it right now. I mean, I feel like if Corbin Burns wanted to go back to Baltimore, I think it should have happened by now. So it's really interesting. I know that the reports out recently, the chatter, is Alex Bregman, who we'll talk about momentarily, and Corbin Burns, two of the household names still out there on the market, are going to sign after Christmas. So, of course, my luck, when I go out to Florida, both of those names probably will be signed somewhere, right? I know a couple years ago when I went out to Florida on Christmas and New Year's, Rafael Devers got his massive long-term extension with the Red Sox. So every single year, I feel like if I'm down in Florida, right, moves of course happen, but big time things happen. And hopefully the Red Sox give me another Christmas gift under the tree before I go down south and get some warm weather, which I would love. But what I also would love to see the Red Sox do, speaking of love, is get another ready bat. And the two names that right now are that the Red Sox are looking at are Alex Bregman and Teoscar Hernandez. Two names that I would absolutely love. Bregman, of course, the Astros have a decent chance of getting him back. But I don't know. I think it's going to come down to the Red Sox, Astros, and the Mets. Another name that's been floating around the Red Sox connected with via trade has been Nolan Arenado. There's been a ton of chatter in which Rafi, of course, with his average play at third base in the field recently in the last couple of years, that they want to put potentially Rafi to either first base or DH, and then maybe bring a third baseman in. That's the reason why they've been looking at guys like Bregman and Arenado. I think Arenado isn't the same guy he once was. And I also think Arenado, when it comes to his no trade list names, right? The Red Sox are on that list in terms of he can waive his no trade clause and go to a team like the Red Sox. I don't see Arenado coming to Boston. And that's fine. If it came down to Arenado, Santander, we could also talk about Santander. I think is a very underrated name still out there on the market who hit 40 homers last year. And I think that the Red Sox have been really needing power for a while back in their lineup. You know, when you have guys like Duran and Casas and Devers, you need to have that righty bat. So I think Arenado can maybe give him something, of course, with that pull swing to the monster, but he's not my number one option. Would I love it? No, but would I hate it? No. I think Arenado, he's been clamored as one of the best guys in the league for a while. I just think that his best days are numbered, and they're behind him. So I also think, too, that the Yankees, they just got Paul Goldschmidt to play first base. There's a potential chance that he might go to play in New York, whether it's with the Mets, whether it's with the Yankees. And the Mets, of course, speaking of the Mets, they are tied to Bregman. So there's so many between the Red Sox suitors for guys like Bregman and Teoscar and Santander. Teams like the Yankees and the Mets, they're of course going to try to pursue for him. So the Red Sox, there is no excuse for them to not get Teoscar or Bregman or Santander. Rob Bradford today, shout out to you, Bradfield. Really like your stuff. He reported basically kind of an article after the Red Sox got Walker Buehler today of pretty much what they're prioritizing next. And pretty much he said pretty much what we all are pretty much expecting. And that's that they're going to pursue a righty bat, whether it's going to be Bregman or whether it's going to be Teoscar Hernandez. Bregman, I think, is going to be on the Tigers list between them and the Red Sox. Uh, the Tigers, of course, been connected with him for a while because AJ Hinch was there at Houston. So I think Bregman would have a really good connection back there as well. Um, Teoscar, that's my number one choice. And I will say why. Teoscar pretty much spoke highly about playing at Fenway last year before the Dodgers got him. He talked about loving to play at Fenway. The two great things about these two guys, by the way, Bregman and Teoscar, is they have fantastic. Not only they're great righty power bats and they're very pull happy, but they're very good at Fenway Park. Bregman is in the top 10 when it comes to opposing guys with the best OPSs in the league with at Fenway Park. I mean, I can look at the numbers right now. Let's see really quick. Alex Bregman, I'll give you from StatMuse. StatMuse, of course, has some decent stuff here. Um, actually, never mind. Red Sox Nation stats. Top OPS is at Fenway Park. Um, so yeah, Bregman has a 1.240 top OPS all time, minimum 80 at bat appearances. That's absolutely insanity. So I would kill to have Alex Bregman on this team. He would also help too when it comes to championship DNA. Like the Red Sox brought in Walker Buehler to help some of their championship DNA. When he has experience with the Dodgers, Bregman has that championship DNA that he brought from Houston. Core has a good relationship with him. I don't know about Bressel because there was a ton of chatter early on during the winter meetings that they were reportedly trying to get Alex Bregman. Sam Kennedy, Alex Core were fine with it. Craig Bressel on the other hand, wasn't really in favor wasn't in favor of it. It was kind of reluctant right away to do it. But I think maybe now he might be kind of more thinking that they need to do something. And righty bat, I think that maybe Core and Kennedy could convince him to maybe try to see if they can maybe work something out. But regardless of what happens, righty bat is needed. A couple other names that could be watched for the Red Sox be in the trade market if they don't go free agency in the righty bat. Luis Robert from the White Sox. I know that Robert has a ton of injuries, but his swing is really made for Fenway Park. And I still think that with the tough year that he had last year, I still think that upside is absolutely phenomenal. And he's shown that he's a perfect bat for any type of team that would need it. I do think that if the Dodgers miss out on the Teoscar and we get Teoscar, because I really think when it comes to Teoscar services, and I did talk about Bregman's, I think Teoscar, it's coming down to the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays. Either returning back to the Dodgers, which I think is a very, very good chance, unfortunately, from my side of things. But if the Dodgers don't get back Teoscar, they do have some Plan B options coming over. And Ken Rosenthal from Athletic basically has said that they're also looking at other options. So that's good. So yeah, I think that that's just the biggest thing that they have to do next is they have to figure out the righty bat situation. The next thing after that is they have to address the back end and more some added punch to the bullpen. So right now the bullpen. I look here on Fangraphs. So their bullpen right now, as seen, Josh Winkowski, Justin Wilson. So Justin Wilson was a guy I did forget to mention. He came up with Reds. Brings a little bit of help kind of on the as just kind of as a depth piece. Michael Fulmer, Brendan Bernardino, Greg Weiser, Justin Slayton, Aroldis Chapman, and Liam Hendricks. So it's not great, per se. I think Garrett Millette going back to the pen will also help, but there's still a lot of names out there on the bullpen market that I think can really strengthen that bullpen. Um, because I look at guys like Weiser and Bernardino and Winkowski, three names that are on the Fangraphs and that Red Sox bullpen that I see basically more as AAA arms, right? The Red Sox need to figure out, can they maybe get more of a power arm in the back end, like a Jeff Hoffman, a Tanner Scott, or Curry Yates. And I think that can really help them solidify more to their pen come 2025. So between the righty bat and between the bullpen, I think those are the next two massive focuses that the Red Sox need to have, right? After basically solidifying their starting rotation with the move of Walker Buehler today. So that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Kind of a little bit of a stream. If you guys want to see more stuff when it comes to the Red Sox and some other moves around the league, make sure to join tonight as well on Kicking with Cruz. I will see maybe if I have some of my co-hosts come on, and you guys will kind of maybe get some of their inputs on some of those moves as well. Because the MLB hot stove is absolutely hot right now. There's been a ton of trades going on as of late. So that's basically that for now. So thank you guys for watching. Like I said, hope you guys have a great holiday and a great Christmas season and whatever you guys are celebrating as well too. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.